I used to think love was simple. You meet someone, fall for them, build a home, and spend the rest of your life in that quiet, shared rhythm. That's how it was with Daniel, or at least, that's how I believed it was. We'd been married for 12 years, living in a small, sunlit house just outside Seattle. The kind of home where the walls carried laughter and the smell of coffee lingered longer than it should. Daniel was a calm man, steady as a stone, and I was the talkative one, always filling the silences he never minded. Our life was ordinary, which is to say, it was perfect in its own way. We had dinner together every night, sometimes in silence, sometimes talking about the day. He'd read the news on his phone, I'd scroll through recipes I'd never cook. There were no storms between us, only the small, passing clouds that every marriage holds. But one night, I woke up to the sound of his voice. At first, I thought he was talking in his sleep, something about a name. The room was dark, soft with the sound of rain against the window. I turned toward him, half awake, trying to catch the word again. He whispered it softly, almost tenderly. Anna. The name floated in the darkness like a secret I wasn't meant to hear. I remember lying still, my breath caught halfway. Anna. I didn't know any Anna. We didn't have friends by that name, not family, not coworkers. I told myself it was probably a dream, maybe a movie he'd watched, or some random name stitched into a half-forgotten memory. But then it happened again. The next night. And the night after that. Each time, the same name. Anna. Always gentle, almost loving. I didn't say anything at first. Maybe because I was afraid of sounding foolish. Maybe because I didn't want to disturb the stillness of our life with a question I wasn't ready to hear the answer to. But as the days passed, it started to sit between us, a small, invisible thing that grew heavier every time I looked at him. He'd smile, pour me coffee, kiss my forehead before leaving for work. The same Daniel. But I'd catch myself studying his face like it was a puzzle I couldn't solve. Who was Anna? I tried to convince myself it didn't matter. Everyone dreams, right? Maybe she was a stranger he passed on the street once. Maybe just a name his mind had picked up somewhere. But every night, it came back. The same whisper. The same ache in my chest. So I started watching him more closely. When he worked late, when his phone buzzed and he turned it face down, when he smiled to himself in the middle of reading something. I wasn't trying to be suspicious, I just needed to know what I was fighting against. Still, there were no signs of lies. No perfume on his clothes, no strange messages, no distance in his voice. Just the same old. After that morning, nothing felt the same. It's strange how a single word, a name, can change the temperature of an entire house. Daniel went about his days as if nothing had happened, but I couldn't unsee that flicker in his eyes when I'd said Anna. It was small, almost invisible, but real. The kind of pause that happens when someone's mind goes somewhere it shouldn't. I didn't mention it again. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I had a habit of overthinking small things until they became storms in my head. But every night when he turned over in bed, when the lights dimmed and his breathing slowed, I'd wait. And then I'd hear it again. Anna. Sometimes he said it with a sigh. Sometimes barely a whisper. But always with a softness I hadn't heard in years. It wasn't anger I felt, it was something quieter, heavier. Like being left out of your own life. A few weeks passed before I decided to look for answers. Not because I didn't trust him, but because I couldn't keep living in that quiet confusion anymore. I started small. One afternoon while he was at work, I opened his old photo albums, the ones from before we got married. Daniel had been private about his past, he'd grown up in a small town in Oregon, lost his parents young, and rarely spoke about his college days. Most of the photos were of him hiking, fishing, smiling with friends whose names I didn't know. And then, tucked inside one of the albums, I found a letter. It was folded and yellowed at the edges, hidden behind a picture of Daniel standing near a lake. The handwriting was delicate, looping, a woman's hand. I hesitated before opening it, but my hands moved before my heart could stop them. Asterisk Dear Daniel. I know you said not to write again, but I can't stop thinking about the day by the lake. You said you'd never forget me, and I'm holding you to that. Yours, Anna. Asterisk. My breath caught. It wasn't anger I felt. It was something deeper, sorrow mixed with understanding. The letter wasn't new, the paper had aged, the ink faded. This wasn't some secret affair or hidden relationship now, it was something old. Something that had lived long before me. When Daniel came home that evening, I tried to look normal. I cooked dinner, we talked about the neighbor's new dog, about work, about everything and nothing. But all I could think about was that letter. I didn't ask him about it right away. Instead, I watched, not for lies, but for the truth hiding in his silences. He was quieter those days. Sometimes, when he thought I wasn't looking, he'd stare out the window for long moments, lost in thought. Finally, one evening, I gathered the courage to ask. Daniel, I said softly, who's Anna? He froze. There was no denial this time, no confused smile. Just a quiet sig.